Welcome to this presentation by Facilitators Research. This research is distributed exclusively for informational and educational purposes and does not constitute financial, legal, tax, or investment advice. For such services, you may reach out to speak to one of our officers.
From the highlands of southern Africa, a quiet monetary experiment has been running for over 2 decades. The Kingdom of Lesotho, a small open economy, pegged to the rand, exposed to commodity cycles, migrant labor flows, and global rate shocks. This is the institutional memory of its interest rates and inflation. And the question it answers: how should a bank here have run its loan book to earn the highest return at the least risk? We analyzed 23 years of monthly data from the Central Bank of Lesotho and the Bureau of Statistics. 11 interest rate series, CPI inflation, employment, all numeric, all verified at source. The objective is clear: maximum risk-adjusted return on the loan book. We build the playbook year by year. Lesotho's central bank rate started at 16% in 2002 and fell to 7.2% by 2020, the lowest in the series. Inflation swung from 3.2 to 10.7%, peaking during the 2008 food and oil crisis. The two series moved together, but with lags that created windows of opportunity. Some years were calm, others were violent. The banker who read those windows won. Inflation peaked at 10.7% in 2008, the global commodity shock. Then fell to 3.2 by 2015, the calmest year. It rebounded to 8.3 in 2022 as supply chains broke. For a bank, every inflation peak is a deposit pricing warning. Every trough is a lending margin window. Subtract inflation from the policy rate, and you get the real rate, the true cost of money. Lesotho's real policy rate averaged above 4% for 2 decades, positive almost every year. That is a structural gift to lenders. But 38 months were negative, the worst streak running 32 months from May 2020 to December 2022. That was the COVID era. The banker who lent aggressively into negative real rates lost purchasing power. The banker who waited won. The corridor between funding cost and lending yield is where banks live. The deposit 1-year rate averaged 4.4%. Prime lending averaged 11.7%. The spread, the banker's gross margin, swung from 4.4 to 11.4%. Wide and exploitable, but only if you match the right tenor to the right rate regime. Here is the dashboard a chief financial officer should have lived by. Policy rate, inflation, real rate, prime lending,
T-bill,
1-year deposit,
spread.
Each tile tells a story. Each tile is a decision lever. When the real rate tile goes red, you de-risk. When the spread tile goes green, you extend. Strategy 1. Real rate carry. The foundational trade. Lend long when the real rate is positive. De-risk when it goes negative. Across 23 years, Lesotho offered positive real rates almost every year, peaking at 9.6% in 2005. That is a once-in-a-generation carry trade, available in plain sight. But the 32-month COVID streak from 2020 to 2022 destroyed banks that did not hedge. This heat map shows every month from 2002 to 2024. Amber cells mean positive real rates, the green light to lend. Blue cells mean negative real rates, the warning to retreat. The big blue block on the right is 2020 to 2022. The COVID era. 32 consecutive months of negative real rate. If your loan book was running flat during that stretch, you were quietly losing capital to inflation. The playbook is binary. When the real rate is above 2%, extend tenor. Lock in fixed-rate loans for 3 to 5 years. When the real rate is between 0 and 2%, hold. Float.
When it goes negative, contract.
Shorten tenor. Index to inflation. Park excess in T-bills. In Lesotho, that discipline would have captured 9% real carry in 2005 and avoided the 2020 to 2022 capital drain. Strategy 2. The duration ladder. Lesotho's central bank publishes for deposit tenors from call money to 1 year. A bank that funds at the short end and lends at the long end earns the term premium. but it also takes interest rate risk. The solution is a ladder. Stagger deposits across 31-day, 88-day, and 1-year buckets. Match each to a lending tenor. Run a flat duration gap. The yield curve in Lesotho is steep. Call money averaged 2.4%. 31-day deposits, 2%. 88-day time deposits, 3.3. 1-year deposits, 4.4. That is a 200 basis point pickup from overnight to 1 year. A bank that ladder funded across all 4 tenors would have stabilized its cost base while preserving flexibility. Split funding equally across the 4 tenors. The blended funding cost is 3.0%. Lend that capital out at prime, which averaged 11.7%. The gross spread before provisions and overhead is 8.7%. That is the ladder premium captured from the yield curve.
Discipline, not magic.
Strategy 3. Spread lock-in. The single biggest error a Lesotho banker could have made was floating the loan book when policy was falling and fixing it when policy was rising. From 2002 to 2004, the policy rate collapsed from 16 to 13%. The banker who locked 3-year fixed-rate loans at 16% captured windfall carry as his funding costs dropped. The banker who floated captured nothing. Each candle shows the annual range of prime lending. The body is the year's open-close. The wick is the high-low. The widest wicks were 2008 and 2016, when inflation volatility forced central bank moves. In those years, floating-rate lenders reset upward and rode the cycle. Fixed-rate lenders locked in the spread before the moves. The lesson: lock fixed at the top of the cycle, float at the bottom. This scatter plots every year. The x-axis is the policy rate level. The y-axis is inflation. The bubble size is the lending deposit spread. The upper right quadrant, high rate and high inflation, is the lock zone. Lock fixed rate loans there. The lower left quadrant, low rate and low inflation, is the float zone. Float prime there. In Lesotho, 2002 to 2005 was the lock zone. 2020 to 2021 was the float zone. Get this wrong, and you bleed 400 basis points of margin. Strategy 4. T-bill parking. When loan demand is weak or credit risk is high, do not force the loan book. Park liquidity in treasury bills. Lesotho's T-bill rate averaged 6.8% across the full sample, peaking at 12.2% in 2002. That is a risk-free return, denominated in a currency pegged to the rand. The banker who parked aggressively in 2008, when inflation spiked, earned 6% while private borrowers were defaulting. Each dot is 1 year. The x-axis is inflation. The y-axis is the T-bill yield. Above the diagonal, T-bills beat inflation. Below it, they lose. In Lesotho, T-bills beat inflation in 15 of the 22 observed years. The exceptions were 2008, 2009, 2012, 2016, 2020, 2021, and 2022. Mostly inflation shock years. The lesson: park when T-bills beat inflation. The decision gauge reads the spread between prime lending and T-bills. When the needle points to the right, lending beats parking, extend credit. When it points left, parking beats lending, retreat to government paper. The needle is dynamic. A skilled treasurer watches it weekly. Across the sample, lending beat parking by an average of 485 basis points. But in 2020, that gap compressed. The signal to retreat. Strategy 5. Maximum lending capture. The data reveals a hidden corridor. The maximum lending rate sets the bank ceiling. Prime lending sets the floor of pricing power. The spread between them widened from 5% in 2002 to 20.4% in 2017. That gap is the bank's pricing flexibility. Skilled lenders captured the upper bound for risk-adjusted borrowers. Average lenders left yield on the table at prime. The key ratios for this strategy. Maximum lending rate averaged 22.5% across the sample. Prime lending averaged 11.7%. The spread, the corridor of pricing power, averaged 10.9%. It peaked at 20.4% in 2017. The banker who priced loans at the maximum for qualified borrowers captured nearly double the prime rate's yield. The capture matrix. When the max prime spread is above 15%, price loans at the maximum for qualified borrowers. Between 10 and 15%, blend prime and max for tiered risk. Below 10%, compete at prime alone. In Lesotho, 2015 through 2022 was the wide corridor era. Spread above 13% every year. 2002 through 2005 was the narrow era. Spread around 5%. The bank that read the corridor priced loans to the data. Strategy 6. Sector allocation. Lesotho's employment data reveals two formal engines: government and the Lesotho National Development Corporation. Government employment grew from 35,000 in 2001 to 95,000 in 2024, a near tripling. L&C-assisted employment fell from 51,000 to 31,000 over the same period. A bank that lent to government payroll customers rode the structural uptrend. A bank that lent to LNDC sectors faced decline. The two lines tell the structural story. Government employment, in amber, rising secularly. L&C employment, in cyan, falling since 2003. A loan book overweight to government payroll customers benefits from salary deduct repayment and a growing customer base. A loan book overweight to manufacturing or textiles, the LNDC sectors, faces restructuring and default. The sectoral lens is as important as the rate lens. The optimal sectoral split, derived from the employment trend. 40% of the loan book to government payroll customers, riding the structural uptrend. 20% to wholesale trade, RAN-linked. 15% to housing mortgage, long tenor. 15% to agriculture, secured by warehouse receipts. 10% to LNDC manufacturing, but only with short tenor. This matrix matches the structural employment trend, not the cyclical one. It survives the next downturn. Decompose the gross spread using the data. Start with prime lending at 11.7%. Subtract the one-year deposit cost for 0.4. The residual, the gross lending deposit spread, is 7.3%. That is the banker's reward before provisions, overhead, and taxes. Everything else is friction. The data confirms this spread swung from 4.4 to 11.4% across the sample. The optimal playbook across 23 years. 1. Run real rate carry, lend long when real rates exceed 2%. 2. Ladder funding across 4 tenors, target a blended cost of 3%. 3. Lock fixed at the top of the rate cycle, float at the bottom. 4. Park in T-bills when the lending spread compresses below 300 basis points. 5. Capture the maximum lending corridor when the spread exceeds 10%. 6. Overweight government payroll, underweight LNDC manufacturing. 6 lines. 6 rules. 23 years of evidence. Compare 3 spreads derived from the data. The prime-to-deposit spread averaged 7.3%, the core banking margin. The prime-to-bill spread averaged 4.9%, the parking premium. The max-to-prime spread averaged 10.9%, the maximum lending capture. Stack these 3 levers, and the combined yield opportunity exceeded 23% in peak years. The data reveals the strategy. 5 lessons from the data. 1. Real rates are the true north. Track them monthly. 2. The duration gap kills more banks than defaults. Manage it daily. 3. The T-bill rate is your floor. Never lend below it, without strategic reason. 4. The maximum lending corridor is your pricing power. Capture it when wide. 5. Employment trends are destiny. Lend where the jobs are growing. These 5 lessons, applied together, compound a Lesotho bank's capital above inflation every year for 23 years. The data ends in December 2024. The lessons do not. Lesotho's monetary history is a laboratory for any small open economy. The bank that ran real rate carry, ladder funding, spread lock-in, T-bill parking, maximum lending capture, and sectoral discipline would have outperformed its peers by a wide margin. The evidence is in the data. The framework is in the numbers. The decision is yours.